Hey guys, it's Jaylon. Welcome back. I'm here today to share with you my update for my palette love series. This is a project where I like to bring in palettes randomly to work on, play around with, use once or twice in the month so I can, spread the love for all my palettes because I have a lot. I changed things up a little bit this year. I think I'm going to consistently roll in one fewer palette than I normally would because I'm finding that I'm not able to get the uses that I need or want. I shouldn't say need, want to get out of the ones I'm rolling in now. So compared to last year, I'm rolling in one palette less. I have 3 Pan That palettes this year. So that's the main reason. And those are the ones I'm typically focusing on. And I'm also giving myself grace to use the palette once versus twice. Because as long as I use it and I like it, then I'm okay with saying it's been used. But let me share with you the palettes I was working on last month and what I thought of them. The first one I have is by Ciate, is the Glitter Storm palette. Ah, look how fun. I used this palette once and I really did enjoy it when I used it. So there's the palette. I think I stuck to the mattes. I didn't use these glitter shades because I'm focusing on my Pan That palette, but the formula on this was really lovely. Lovely. Just to give you a couple of swatches. Really nice. Not going anywhere. Next palette is by Morphe. This is the little palette, and this is Coffee Toffee. They had a couple of these. I want to say they had 3 when these launched a long time ago. And again, this was also really nice. The formula was great. And in the mattes and the shimmers I enjoyed too. I mean, they're not like, in your face indie shadows, but it's nice. It's a nice palette. It performed really well. I was kind of wondering if I should keep those or declutter them, and I actually really like them. Next, I have from MAC the Fruit a La La eyeshadow times 6 pans palette. This was part of the Fruity Juicy collection. That doesn't sound right. I was right. It's the Fruity Juicy collection. Anyway, this is what this palette looks like. And I enjoyed this one too. I mean, I love MAC mattes. I feel like they're such great formula. I know some people probably don't like them, but I think they're just stand out so good. They blend beautifully. You can build them up, and I like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like pigmented mattes too, but these are really nice. So that one's staying. The next palette, I forgot to mention, these were all palettes that were randomly chosen for me. I have one that I chose, which is going to be the last one I share with you. But the last one that was randomly chosen for me is by Viseard. This is the Petite Pro in the apricotine colorway. Anyway, I did decide to declutter this. I used this once. And it has some standalone lovely shades that I wouldn't mind keeping. Like this shimmer is beautiful. Actually, these first 2 are really lovely. But these mattes, they're not my colors. And I would rather gift this to somebody who would enjoy it versus me just holding on to it for a couple of shades or breaking it up and keeping a couple of shades. I just don't find the need to do that considering all the palettes I have in my collection. So I do already have a friend that I'm going to gift this to, which I know she's going to love this. So that is going to leave my collection. I decluttered palette, you guys. Go me. And the last palette I was working on, again, was chosen by me. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 palette. Ooh, very, very shiny. This is lovely. Lovely. I really enjoyed working on this one. You can see I kind of dug my fingers into this shade. It's so pretty. It's funny because it looks like there's a big dip in here, but it's barely a dip. Anyway, this was lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I did use this one twice compared to some of the others I only used once. I think I used the Morphe palette once and the Ciate palette once, and the others I used twice. Anyway, it's so beautiful. I splurged on this one. I think I got it during the VIB sale. When was it? Last year? I mean, obviously last year, but I don't remember if it was spring or was it fall 2020. I don't remember. Anyway, it's beautiful and it's staying. So we have 4 palettes that are staying and 1 palette that is leaving my collection. So now is the time where I pull out my iPad and we are going to select the next 4 randomly chosen palettes for me. Let me pull up Wheel of Names. So I did recently update my Wheel of Names list, and Wheel of Names is a website that I use to have a wheel of all the products that I'm going to select, like for this project or for any other project. I like it because it allows you to have as many line items as you want. You're not limited to a certain number, which works best for me. Anyway, we're going to select 4 palettes to start. Let's see what we get. Smashbox Golden Hour Eye Palette. That's 1. Number 2. Oh, the Colourpop times Marielle Control Alt Glam Palette. This is a recent-ish, like late last year purchase. That's 2. Number 3. Tartlet Juicy Palette. Okay. And number 4. This is brand new too. Brand spanking new. Natasha Denona Zendo Palette. This was part of my... No. This was a BoxyCharm purchase at the very end of the year. Awesome. Let me go grab these palettes and I will grab the one I'm going to select myself and I will be right back. So I have actually used the Tartlet Juicy palette. I don't remember if it was in this project or a different one, but because I know I've used it once or twice, I'm going to go ahead and select another palette. Let's see what we get. Lime Crime Venus 3. All right, let me go grab that. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back with my palettes. Let's go in the order that I selected them. The first one is by Smashbox. This is an old palette. It's the Cover Shot Golden Hour Eye Palette. I actually have worked on this in my Pan and Every Palette project. So I do have pan in this one, as you can see. It's kind of hard to hold up. But I wasn't sure if I was going to keep this palette. When I was working on this in my Pan and Every Palette project, I was contemplated, like, should I declutter this? Because I wasn't sure about the shade. That's the shade that I was working on, which is Turned On. I think Turned On. Anyway, so this is going to be a great opportunity for me to try this palette and see if I like it enough to keep it or if I feel like it's time to declutter. From what I remember, when I was working on Turned On, it wasn't that impactful, but I was able to make it work. I mean, I think it's a pretty shadow and it was nice as a layerable shadow. So there's the swatches of the palette. So we'll see. I think this will be a good test to see if I want to keep it. The next palette I pulled was a Colourpop palette, and it's a fairly new palette. This is the collaboration with Marielle. I believe that's how you say her name. It's the Control Alt Glam palette. This is beautiful. Oh, I love this. Have I even swatched this? I don't even know if I've swatched this. All right, here are some swatches. These look like, I think my arm was a little bit wet. Otherwise, they're pretty crummy. It's a crummy formula. This one's meh. And this didn't really swatch that well, but I think it'll perform well on the eye. This one is really, really interesting. It's really pretty. But this third shade is a big womp womp. This one is, these two are gorgeous. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. Oh, and then this turquoise. Holy moly, that's gorgeous. Jeez. Anyway, I'm excited to work on this one. Then we got the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. And this again is newer to my collection. And here's what this palette looks like. I literally just swatched this on in my empties video where I talked about what I brought into my collection. I'll swatch a couple of shades. I don't remember if did I swatch this whole thing? I don't think I did. Now that I think about it, I don't think I did. So let's do that. All right, there is the palette. It's really lovely. There's some shades like, I mean, I'd probably wear that, but it wouldn't be my first choice. This goldeny gold, coppery shade at the top. And this one is really interesting. This pastel, the shade Breath. But yeah, it's really pretty. And the last palette that I got randomly chosen for me is by Lime Crime. It's the Venus 3 palette. This is also a palette that I have hit pan in, but I literally did not touch the rest of it. So we're going to change that. I love color stories like this. These like, romantic purpley pinky palettes. That purple shadow is very crumbly. A lot of these are pretty crumbly, to be honest. We'll see how they perform. But there we go. There's the palette. Like these, a lot of the ones at the very end were very crumbly. But it's a beautiful color story, so we will see. Okay, now for the palette that I decided to pull in. I decided to go with something that I thought would go well in the month of February because, Valentine's Day, even though I don't really do anything for Valentine's Day. But I decided to pull in the ABH Norvina Mini Pro Pigment Volume 1. It's this one here. I've never played with this one. Here is the color story. I thought this would be kind of fun to play around with. Some bright colors. Oh, that is a really bright, bold, beautiful color story. Mostly mattes, just two shimmers. These two. But I think that's really pretty. And I think it'll complement my Norvina palette really well, since that palette does not really have a lot of purple. This one will complement it, I think. I'm curious if how close this shade, the one in the middle here, is to Soul from the ABH palette, Norvina palette. Not close at all. You can see it's not close at all. This one's much more, the one from the Norvina palette is much more gray toned. And the one from the mini palette is purple, like, lilac-y purple. They're both beautiful. Anyway, those are the palettes that I'm going to be working on from now until this time next month. I'm filming this video typically middle of the month. I'm filming it to go up on the 13th. So I am excited about my new palettes to play around with. But anyway, that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you are doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So I filmed my happy hour project and decided for a prop for my thumbnail would be a drink. So now I'm having a drink during the next video, not during my happy hour project pan update. I gotta remember that next time. Dodo. Doo-doo-doo. Doo-doo-doo. That is the Bailey's talking. Okay, bye.